So welcome everyone. We're talking about the gray gull.
Everybody's been sprinting off to see the gray gull on Siesta Beach. Now
Yeah.
between the green and blue towers, if anybody's
They've
headed
been
out
playing
that way.
hooky from work and school.
I know where tomorrow's field trip's gonna be.
We are.
They said it's usually by the yellow tower, just south of the yellow tower, I think. But the latest tracking was that it is between the green and blue towers.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Um, please enter into the chat where you're viewing from, what birds you're seeing. They're probably have all migrated by now. And where did you see them? And if you've seen the gray gull, let us know.
Yes, let us know if you've seen the gray gull. Many have.
And what did you say, Margie? It's from like
Oh,
Chile?
Christian just got back from seeing it.
Nice,
Yay.
congratulations. That's great. Oh, cool.
They think it, well, we should really ask our expert, Mr. Rowland, but I think they're mostly from Chile and Peru, but they're definitely not from here. And
They're
this
not from
seems,
here. It's very bizarre to even get one, on the Atlantic side of the planet for sure.
but this
But
isn't
yeah,
the
I wonder if
Atlantic side.
is it the same? Well, I mean, of the planet. Yeah, it's a Pacific bird. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm
right.
wondering if it's the one that was kind of cruising around. It's got to be the same one that's been cruising around kind of the panhandle of Florida, right around
We
Tallahassee.
think it was the same one.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I can only think it's the only individual, um,
Right.
in this hemisphere,
He's
pretty
a
much.
Lone Ranger.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
may be going home for Christmas.
That's why it's here.
Very, very
Yeah,
slow migration.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
before
Well, we
they're
have
taking
people
years.
coming from all over. This is great. Janine Perot is tuned in from Houston. Um,
There's a
Sean
gentleman from White
Madden.
Plains,
Mm-hmm.
where
Nice.
I grew up.
All right. Nice. Well, I'm in Asheville and I had a whole little flock of dark-eyed juncos this morning.
Aw.
They come down from elevation. We're only at 2,300 feet, but they come down from the higher elevations when it snows up there. We didn't get snow today, but we got the birds. Oh, and I also had a hermit thrush
Oh.
at my feeder. So they're all coming in out of the cold to the to Asheville, which is a urban heat island.
We finally got a big rain yesterday night, which was so overdue.
It
Oh,
was a big one,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I had people, I heard people saying, what is that stuff coming down from the
I worked a shift with Lisa Sykes out on the Palmer Boardwalk this week as a naturalist, and there was a osprey that always comes out at around 10 a.m. to hunt right by that boardwalk, and that poor thing was harassed by the bald eagles so many times. The adult bald eagle stole its first catch, and then it caught something else within like 5 minutes, and the juvenile bald eagle swooped in and stole that.
learning.
It was so close to the boardwalk. That was really cool.
Awesome. All right, let's get started. Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, so we have a lot of upcoming classes. So I just want everybody to remember, so the classes for December are open. We're going to open the January ones on January 1st. Is that correct, Karen?
Um, just the free one we're doing on the
Just the
first.
birding 101. Okay, so
Yeah.
birding 101's full. Yes, it'll open January 1st for registration for the January 20th class. So mark your calendars if you're wanting to take that one. Birding 101, I just want to do a little brief description of this because this will help you gauge if you should be in 101 or 201. 101 is truly for, I have not done a lot of birding. I don't know what Merlin is. I don't know what eBird is. I'm not great with binoculars, and I need like general guidance so that I can get out there and bird. Birding 201 is, I have Merlin, I have eBird, I've gone birding, I know how to use binoculars. 201 is going to build on your birding skills. So you don't have to have taken 101 to take 201 if your skill level is more attuned to the 201. I think there was a little confusion on that in the way we had worded it. So if you know basic birding, 201's your class. If you really are new to birding, take 101. And then Forrest is going to do a Birds of Celery Fields, which is awesome because we have a lot of them and it's a great place to do it. And we have 8 spots left on that one for December 14th. So that's next Sunday, this coming Sunday.
Mhm.
So
sign
you,
up. Yeah.
yeah, that's coming up. So log on in for that one. And
And
you,
remember, when
yes.
you go to our website to find the login, but then when it takes you to Member Planet, at the top right corner, you log in to get the discount. So members must be logged in to get the member discount.
And the login's at the top right corner. We did demo this last month, but when
Yep.
you click on the registration, you'll see a login in the top right corner.
It's in the black bar.
Yeah,
Yep.
log into that and you'll get your member discount.
And it's
Okay.
automatic.
Yep. We got the holiday luncheon on Wednesday, so we're all that one. The registration's closed, but I'm excited to see everyone on Wednesday. It's going to be a great event, and then they're doing a cleanup on the 10th at 9 a.m. at the
Also
Nature
Wednesday.
Center. So if you are available on the 10th, come on out. We'll do a little cleanup. They did actually clean up. I know a lot of people were complaining about around the Raymond Road Boardwalk in the wetland. This, I do want to remind people, you are not allowed to enter the wetland area. I know it's tempting because now there's no water and you could easily walk out there, but that is part of a protected area and you really cannot walk out there. It is not permitted. They did go and clean all the trash up around Raymond Road. The county will go out and take care of that. So don't try to take it upon yourself. Just let me know and I can contact our park rep, and she went out there the next day and cleaned up all the trash. So just let me know and we can get it taken care of. And I know it's tempting to get pictures getting close to the birds. Don't do that either. That's not good etiquette at all.
Palmer, they come right up to you because there's no water. So you can stand on the boardwalk and get very close, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. And Palmer's definitely that way. Yeah, it's awesome right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so your dues, depending on when you re-enrolled, most people re-enrolled in late December, early January last year. So your dues will be coming due. You should get an email from Member Planet, and you just need to click the link and do your renewal. If you are unsure, if you don't think you got your email, just come into the Nature Center or give us a call or shoot us an email and we can look that up for you and let you know and help you take care of it. And I just want everybody to know Fly Wild Festival is coming up. It's on February 21st from 9 to 2. It's a big festival that we've turned Sarasota Audubon Day into a really big festival. There's going to be a birdathon the week leading up to this, and then we'll announce the winners at the Fly Wild Festival. So we're doing teams of 2. So if you want to compete in a birdathon, get your teams ready because the signups for that are going to be coming up soon. That's going to be a fundraiser as well. People can pledge per species that you see. Or they can do a flat donation, but it should just be really fun, like a fun, friendly competition. And then we are also doing a photo contest. So the photographers get to play as well. You submit all your photos. They're going to pick the top 25 and then anonymous judging. And then the 25 best or top 25 get displayed at the Fly Wild Festival, and the public gets to vote which is the best photo. And it's shareable online on that day as well. So that should be really fun to see what comes out there.
So the registration for that is not open yet, but you can look at the rules. The web page is up. So check our website for more information, and we will send an e-blast out once everything's up and running for birdathon and photo contest. And
I'd look probably first week of January. We hope to have everything up. It might be a little before that, but probably right around the first week of January.
And that's it. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Margie.
Good evening, everybody. I'm recovering from seeing the gray gull out at Siesta Key today. It was an extremely rare bird, as Forrest can tell us. It should be in Chile or in Peru, but to come this far I think it's actually been around here for several years, as far north as Walton County, Florida, which is the handle of the panhandle. So anyway, I'm rambling. It's my great pleasure to introduce Forrest Rowland. And not only because he's one of the coolest birders around, as I will elaborate, but he's also a resident of Sarasota now. So we're really, really lucky. So Forrest, if you don't know him yet, is tour leader for Rock Jumper Birding Adventures. And he's seen over 8,000 bird species, right? Over 8,000, maybe.
Just
and
just a little over, yeah.
a little over. So it seems that maybe there are 11,000 bird species possible now.
It's close. Yeah, they basically, you know, as people who keep track of this stuff will attest, there was about this last decade where everyone's kind of pulling their hair out because it had sort of consolidated into two different taxonomic nomenclatures, and they were kind of battling for how many species there actually were. There was actually even a third and a fourth that started to come
Right.
up. But anyways, everybody got together finally, and they said, nope, we're going to do one. And so now I think the last revisions and putting all that together has put us just shy of 11,000. And there are a couple individuals out there who are, at least one individual I know that has gone over 10, which
Yeah, he
everyone
just,
probably
and
also has heard of. Yeah.
I'm going to explain more about how cool Forrest is in all of this listing. Forrest, can you move a little closer to the mic? Your
Oh, sure.
voice is a little far away.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. So
absolutely.
Forrest, in doing this birding, has only birded in 84 countries. So he's an avid photographer, hiker, traveler, a new daddy. He's got all these qualifications. So Forrest got his start as a birder at age 9, going to Trinidad with his family and staying at the wonder-filled Asa Wright Nature Center. I know that place. Yay. It's a wonderful place to start birding. And then when he decided to pursue bird guiding as an adult in 2003, he moved to Quito, Ecuador, to really do it right, or start right, and pursue birding, and then also spent extensive time in Colombia. So it's no surprise that he thinks the best birding in the world is in South America. I'm not sure, but that's what I've read. So he has great testimonials about his birding and leadership skills on the Rock Jumper website. So you can find out more about him there. So I just want to confess that I'm fascinated with bird listing. That's finding the number of species that are around in the world. And I wasn't a birder until I went to Sarasota, Audubon, after I moved here from Manhattan. And Jean Doobie told me, Margie, you should think about listing. Well, I knew there were cardinals and robins, but anyway, so I got really into listing. And I just want to tell you that you should know that Forrest is ranked number 21 in the entire world, according to eBird. Did you know that, Forrest? Well, you should know that. He's ranked.
No, I hadn't checked it out. So
He's ranked on eBird as having, get this, 7,939 species of birds. I can't even imagine that, although I can tell you what he did. And what's really cool is that we had Peter Kasner, who's the number 1 ranked birder. He's got 10,022 bird species, but I'm sure Roland's still very young, so you're really going to be up there too. It's very exciting. So he's a kind of I'm silent about it to him, but I think he's a kind of hero in the local community and in Sarasota, Audubon. So take it away, Forrest.
Thank you. That was an amazing intro, Marty. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I had the chance to bird with Peter Kessner a couple times, and I feel very proud to call him a colleague. I know we were very excited when he approached Rock Jumper and wanted to do some work with us, and we wanted him to get to 10,000. So it was just sort of a great relationship that has really blossomed, and it's been interesting, as you mentioned, Margie, and we talked about the taxonomy thing. He's actually broken 10,000, I think, 3 times now.
Yeah.
Because they lump and they split these species. So it was over, then he was under, then he was over, then he was under. And then finally, I think that pardon the phrase, but the last nail is in the coffin this time. I think it's done. So I think he's squarely over 10,000 for good. But yeah, he's a great birder and a fun guy, and but certainly amazing shoes to attempt to follow. Not that I'm actually going to. I think our 4-month-old son. Yeah, I've actually very happily kind of come back a little bit from traveling quite as much, and it's really nice to call Sarasota home and be raising him here with you guys. So it's a really great place to be, and I'm excited to be here. Moved here a couple years ago from Montana, and yeah, this has just been an amazing transition. But I think here tonight I'm supposed to answer. Well, I think I put this up myself, but I'm supposed to answer what are the world's best birds, or what are my favorite birds? I get that question constantly. What is my favorite bird? And I think this presentation will probably show you how ADD I am about this, because it's kind of all over the place. It's not one, it's not 10, it's tons. And some people say my favorite bird is the bird I'm looking at right now, and to some extent that's true. Although having the privilege and kind of drive to visit so many places, I definitely do have some birds that kind of nostalgically bring me to those places and those times in my life. And I'll be talking about that a little bit, not only maybe the virtues of the birds, but the context around some of those as well. So yeah, so let me I guess should we start the presentation here?
Yeah. Go
Take
ahead.
it away.
All right. Let me just do this. Get this going. And whoopsie. Sorry, just 1 second. It's this thing with the share screen.
Oh,
Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to share it before
messages.
I actually start the deal. There we go. Share. And all right, are we here now?
Now click.
Are
There
we
we
looking
are.
good and
Now
clear?
we are.
Okay.
Good. All right. Take it
So
away.
I titled this "The World's Best Bird" in my opinion, anyways, because there's a lot of speculation out there, and some of my favorite birds might be a little bit surprising, and that has a lot to do with where I've been and where I'd like to go, I suppose. So yeah, the first slide here is why would anybody ask me? I think Margie, mentioned a little bit of my history there. My biggest passion growing up when I was younger, I quickly got into antbirds, thamnophilids, and they're morely, a South American, Central American family of birds. Most of them are brown and black and white with little spots or some sort of little thing on them. They're not the world's most gaudy or showy birds, but they're difficult to observe well, and they have fascinating ecology. And I think part of what drew me to them is that they're unassuming in a sense, but once you get to know them, you have to know about where they came from, how they evolved. You learn so much about their environment to achieve the appreciation for antbirds that I have. But I think a lot of why I get these questions about what my favorite birds are is sort of my trajectory over the years. As Margie mentioned, I moved to South America when I was pretty young, in my early 20s, and got a couple photos here on the left with some of my best friends. This is us discovering a couple birds in the Colombian Choco Andes there, and on the right, it's celebrating, showing my mentor the bird species that was named after him, which was a great honor as well. And so I've kind of traveled from the heights of the Perijao Range in Colombia, where we see here, all the way to New Zealand, heading down towards Milford Sound, sorry, on the left, and to midnight celebratory drinks at the Safety Roadhouse in Nome. For those of you who have been to Nome, Alaska, to burn the midnight oil and look for Ross's goals and other fun things up there. And yeah, luxury cruises around the Galapagos, to Dawson, doing a homestead with some local biology teachers in Haiti who were working on trying to get some environmental appreciation and getting their students out into nature to experience the love of birds and the environment and what they did have around them, which in some places is plentiful, in other places not, but nonetheless incredibly important for mental and physical health. And then all the way from the top of the highest mountains in Guatemala up to the peaks of Montana in the American West. And so that takes me to my first favorite bird. And this is a black rosy finch. And so I imagine some of you have seen this rosy finch. Some folks might have been lucky enough to go up to the banding station outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico, where you can see all three species of rosy finch and have them at the feeders and even in the hand on occasion as well. But I love seeing these in their native breeding ranges, which are always at the highest peaks in the American Northwest. This is a good example of one. This is a view from Beartooth Pass, which separates Wyoming and Montana. You can drive right over this habitat, and you're really up at the top. You're up at 11,000, 12,000 feet. And in the height of summer, there's still snow everywhere, steep cliffs and glaciated valleys, and that's what they love. They love areas that make even an American pipit look good. There's an American pipit on the top of the rock there in a field of one of the 16 more prolific species of wildflowers you can see in this photo, being some lupins and some other fun things there. But yeah, I love the black rosy finch in part for its resilience. You can see this photo here. This is a male. He's right at the edge of a snowfield, and they feed off of seeds and really frozen invertebrates as well that have been unveiled as the snowfields recede somewhat. They stay intact all year, but as they recede somewhat above about 11,000, 12,000 feet elevation in the Northwest. Another great thing about seeing black rosy finch is all the things that you encounter on the way to get there. So for me to get to the nearest black rosy finches from my old home in Montana, which was a magical place to spend some time, I had to drive through Yellowstone National Park, which was not a bad drive. And so whenever I would drive through the northern range of Yellowstone National Park, I'd always get excited about being around Cook City and Silvergate, some of these amazing places on the way up in elevation where I could stop and see another one of my favorites, pine grosbeak. And other things we saw on the way were bighorn sheep or a coyote. A lot of times driving through Yellowstone in the winter, especially, people get fooled. They say, oh, that's a wolf. No, that's just a very, very fluffy, cute little coyote. And another thing that I love seeing on the way up to Black Rosy Finch Land was moose. Seeing some bull moose in the high alpine watercourses up there was always a treat. And then arguably one of my favorite mammals. We were actually looking at a couple of these. We went to the Moat Aquarium on Sunday, just yesterday. We took some of our best friends and our kids, and we were all just standing there in awe watching the fish. But one of their amazing displays was of some river otters, North American river otters, which I absolutely love. And there's a big part of my heart in Black Rosy Finch Land that goes to this little guy, the most majestic rodent I've ever come across, the pika. So if anybody's been up above tree line, you hear this little meep meep kind of sound echoing around you from all these little rocky tops and hillsides. It's this little beast right here. It's an American pika. And what they'll do is they'll collect all these little, buttercup roots and other things, and they'll store them to survive the winter in snowpack. And they're only really out for about 4 months of the year. But it was always an exciting time because wherever I saw pika and rosy finch, I was also seeing probably my favorite North American mammal, these goofballs, a mountain goat. And so I can't help but stopping to photograph mountain goats when I see them. They're just so photogenic. They're complete posers. And so that was always fun. Going up to Beartooth Pass, especially, there's a big herd of mountain goats that are, as you can see, pretty used to people. And yeah, I just threw this in. Don't get concerned. This isn't a mammal presentation. This is my ADD kicking in, so I have to tell everybody about the mammals too. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot cuter than a kid mountain goat running around. So yeah, again, black rosy finch kind of always reminds me that there's a journey ahead to go see it, because you've got to get to it to be able to appreciate it. And once you're there, you're in for beautiful scenery and a lot of other cool things to enjoy. And I'm going to jump to the other side of the planet now. And these are a couple photos I took from one of my favorite, if not my favorite, boat cruises, sort of a cruise. You're on a very nice research vessel when you do it, on called the Sub-Antarctic Island Journey. And Heritage Expeditions, they're based in New Zealand, do this amongst a bunch of other amazing boat experiences that you can have. It's an 18-day trip south from the South Island of New Zealand that stops at Snares Island, Auckland, Enderby, all these things most people haven't heard of, including the most remote and distant island from land that is not Antarctic, is Macquarie Island, that has over 4 million penguins nesting on it. But these wonderful birds are the Snares Island crested penguin. They only live on a tiny little island to the south of New Zealand. There's a little Google pin point. So you can see, if you kind of jiggle it right, you'll have as much of New Zealand as you will of Antarctica. So you get an idea of where these guys are. And it's really just four little lumps of rocks that come up out of the ocean that you can see these guys. But they're one of the first things that you see when you go on this sub-Antarctic journey. And so you're often greeted to this experience that you're about to enjoy, which just kind of knocks everything else out of the water, in my opinion, for boat stuff, by that. And one of the other things that you're going to see early on is the white-capped or shy albatross. And there's quite a few species of albatross out there that I think are especially lovely. But I think the best of the best pretty much are on that sub-Antarctic island cruise. So shy albatross or white-capped albatross breeds mostly in New Zealand, kind of southern waters, South Tasmania, that area, and they get around. So I've actually bumped into one off the coast of Chile once, as have I this, which is, I think, just, again, getting distracted by my favorite birds here, but this is a Buller's albatross. And so both white-capped and Buller's albatross are some of the first birds that you see when you go on this sub-Antarctic island cruise experience. And then when you hit land, you finally get to get off a couple days later. Snares you can't always get off on, depending on how big the seas are and what the chop is. But this is on Auckland Island, which is even further south, a couple days motoring. And this is typically the scenery. This is the scenery for all your landings for the next, couple of weeks. You have these mega flora that are just these huge hookeri, pink daisies and things that just really, I mean, it's flowers that come up to your chest almost in places, and just so dramatic and beautiful. And all of these islands are very tightly controlled. And so the only company that has a permit to take people onto it is Heritage Expeditions. And then there are researchers that are there. So when you set foot on the island, you're going to be one of 100, 120 people that are going to set foot on that island throughout the calendar year. And so it's really a special experience, as this photo also attests. That's a Southern Royal Albatross at my feet on Enderby Island there. And this is another thing that runs around your feet. It's flightless, and it is a snipe. It looks a lot like, it's what serves as a rodent down there, because as you might know, not too many mammals, Only one or two, bats and a few unfortunate feral escapes have made it into the New Zealand area. But yeah, this is a native species of snipe, subantarctic snipe, that is, for all intents and purposes, pretty much flightless. And another reason why I love Snares Island crested penguins is because they tend to be monogamous, and they do a lot of this canoodling while you're viewing them. So, I get a little emotional as well with these sort of things. And I try not to anthropomorphize too much, but it's really neat to see these sort of interactions, and they're very gregarious, and they spend a lot of time interacting, which is super cool. So we'll move all the way south. This is going to be the only species of bird in my presentation that I have not seen yet. And so I really want to see it. I'm very excited to. And you might already guess what it is. So I've been to the subantarctic islands, and I've been on research to Falkland and South Georgia, and but I've never set foot on the Antarctic continent yet. It's my last continent to go to, so I hope to get there soon. So I've never seen this. This is one of the world's very few perfectly white birds. We've got some lovely egrets and other things that might contend, but I think arguably the backdrop of where this bird lives along these icebergs, these massive landscapes, is just incredible. Seeing a snow petrel wheel in front of the range, it can be the Ross or Weddell Sea or wherever you might be, would be truly a treat. So this is one of the birds that just it keeps me dreaming, and it'll keep me going. So we'll get there. I think I might wait until I can take my son, hopefully, to enjoy the spectacle of this beautiful species someday. And this is our partners here. This was our last big expedition. We actually worked with Cork to organize an extra 3 days onto a typical Antarctic expedition to be able to go further south, far enough south to see an emperor penguin, which they did succeed in finding several on the icebergs there. So someday. And this, just to illustrate, this is a snow petrel's range. These little kind of purple marks way inland here show you more or less where they breed. So it's an incredible bird. They fly way inland to breed in the mountains there. It's just it's a fascinating species. So this is a very special bird that made a lot of headlines, and some of you might have read about it. It's become one of the conservation kind of concern, but success stories a bit over the last couple decades, of which there are quite a few which are fun to talk about. This is the blue-eyed ground dove of Brazil. And I was lucky enough to see this just before the preserve was established, conserving what's known of its range, which is very small. But just a quick fact sheet on this really cool bird that I think is one of the world's best, not only for the staring crazy blue eye, which is very unique, but also because of the story with it. Essentially, it was gone for 75 years, extinct, and then in 2015 they were rediscovered, well out of what was considered, or quite a far ways out of what was considered their typical range, or where people had been searching for it. But once they figured out where it was, they were able to buy about a 1,500 acre kind of area to preserve it and block it off, and now no one's allowed in at all. And what they've done is they've done a captive breeding program that has actually managed to rear a few chicks. And so they're essentially trying to repopulate from this one tiny preserve. If you look on the right side of this, the image on the left is the dove. If you look on the right side, you can kind of see where Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo are at the south part of the map. A little bit north, there's one purple square, And if you were to zoom in on this purple square on eBird to explore the range of the blue-eyed ground dove, you would find a pin that looks like a postage stamp because it is. The bird is only known from one site, at least that's publicized. And so the idea is to have 2 or 3 sites and move the bird around. So it's a special bird. Usually when you find one special bird in an area, there are lots of special birds because that means that that habitat is very specific and probably quite limited. And maybe, not in geological time, but in our time, it has, shrunk quite a bit. And so this cool little dove, the blue-eyed ground dove, shares its range and its region with some other very special birds like the Brazilian merganser, which is another critically endangered endemic species there. This beauty is a Kempfer's woodpecker, which only inhabits sort of the forests that have a bit of bamboo stand kind of in it, right where the Amazon meets the edge of the Brazilian upland plate. And another cool bird in what they call the Cerrado habitats that are in this area is coal-crested finch. And this was a real treat to see. Sorry, the photo barely kind of fits, but this is one of the first photos. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 before my colleagues that went there ahead of me got the first pics. This is a new species. It hasn't been named yet, but I think they're probably, I know they've published the papers and everything, so they're probably in the process of securing a name for it yet. It's a kind of a spine tail, which, aren't the flashiest birds. But yeah, this was just a several hours drive from where we were with the blue-eyed ground dove and other birds as well. So just a real treat to be in the area to see a bird that hadn't even been described yet to science. So yeah, blue-eyed ground dove, beautiful, unique-looking little bird, and a pretty cool contemporary conservation story that is ongoing and has had some success. This bird will jump halfway across the planet real quick, not to give you whiplash there, but this bird is a lot more ubiquitous in certain parts of the world that some of you might have been to. And I think my favorite thing to call this bird, or my favorite sort of slang about it, is to say it's the gateway drug to birding. It's a lilac-breasted roller. And so most people, if you've been to Africa or gone on safari, a lot of the guides are very highly specialized. It's usually in mammals. But everybody knows a lilac-breasted roller. And everybody wants to look at a lilac-breasted roller. And they're big, they're bold, they're absolutely beautiful. And they're kind of like really showy shrikes in a sense. They go for lizards and other, they'll go for small vertebrates, big invertebrates, things like that. So it's a cool looking bird, and they're out all day in all sorts of open habitats that make them, very recognizable. And so one of the reasons that this is one of my favorite birds is because it has drawn hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people into an interest in birds from, the very proximal interest of mammals, like seeing wildlife and other things. Of course, I also love to scuba dive and snorkel, and tropical fish are beautiful and all this, but there's no birds down there. Neat thing about a safari is that there's plenty of birds around. And this tends to be one that people look at and just get like really, really wowed by. And so yeah, lilac-breasted roller is on my list. I'm going to throw out some of the other examples of birds that have also just really brought people into the fold, and that is lovebirds, peach-faced lovebirds. Can't beat it. A lot of places where you go to see, and you can see lilac-breasted rollers, you can see lovebirds coming into a watering hole or congregating in the evening. Another beautiful bird is Burchell's starling. This is like a big, showy starling that tends to be in similar areas, Botswana, etc. And then, yeah, anywhere that there's lilac-breasted rollers, you've got a chance to see a martial eagle. And so martial eagles are one of the biggest eagles on the planet. Africa's martial and crowned are the biggest there, but yeah, martial eagle is the raptor of the open savannas and plains. And here, this martial eagle actually took out what's called a red-crested bustard or red-crested corehorn right next to the vehicle and just perched there plucking it. So just a spectacular thing to see. The next bird we saw after that was a lilac-breasted roller. That's why I thought of that photo. Another thing is you're going to these water holes, you're seeing lilac-breasted rollers, but you're probably also going to be having some other amazing experiences, like your first encounter with elephants, or you get to see rhinoceros. And in this particular photo, I just liked kind of focusing more on the reflection. But if you look towards the top of the photo, there's a flock of about 15,000 red-billed quelea that were coming into the water hole that evening as well. And other things you see at the water holes when rollers go in to bathe might be some Beza oryx. You might get some cats. Everybody loves seeing a lion. And a lion coming to drink at the water holes is special. And then one of my favorite, if not favorite cats, hard to pick one, but I also love a cheetah. And so this young cheetah was at a same kind of photo shoot. I'd stopped to take a shot of lilac-breasted roller, and this mom and cub cheetah were just laying down right next to the road. And so I leaned out of the safari vehicle a little bit to get a low angle shot, get a little head shot of this cutie. So back on this side of the planet, lilac-breasted rollers kind of exemplify, in my mind, the safari experience in Africa. There's one place in the New World, in the Western Hemisphere, in South America, that stands out to me as our nearest equivalent of a safari. And that's the Pantanal of Brazil. And their biggest, flashiest bird is this, the world's largest parrot. This is a hyacinth macaw. And these birds have become the emblem, right up with the Pantanal is known for a few other things, of course, great mammal watching, which I'll mention naturally in a second. But this has become the emblem bird for the Pantanal region, as all these big kind of cattle ranchers realized that people were coming to not only fish and not only look at some of the wildlife they have there, but they're also looking at the birds. And the hyacinth macaw was dwindling. Its global population had gotten down around 10, 15,000. And so there were only a couple hundred left in this area. And so they started to put up nest boxes and bring in some ornithologists to talk to them about, how to support better conditions, what palms to plant, what kind of food supply to get going. And now hyacinth macaws are usually lawn guests at most lodges that you visit in the Pantanal, which is great. And so yeah, it's sort of become one of the ubiquitous birds of the Pantanal. And you just, again, you see them in spectacular places. The Pantanal of Brazil is sort of the edge. It's this big swamp, the world's largest swamp that collects water at the edge of the Brazilian plateau. And then this drains out into the Atlantic. But it all comes off of the Andes of Bolivia, southern Peru, all this. And it's just a really magical, very interesting part of the world. And some of what you'll see there, and why I love the Pantanal and hyacinth macaw so much, is because as you go through the water courses and you're cruising down the rivers there, you're sharing the water with giant otters. And I know I put in North American river otter a little earlier in the presentation. I love the antics of otters, and I love what they call these lobos del rio in Spanish-speaking countries in the Amazon, because they translate to wolves of the river. But yeah, they're big. They're 6 feet tall, 6 feet long otters, big, half the size of your boat, and they're cruising through and just grabbing painted catfish and gnawing on them in front of you, and playing and cavorting in their little family groups. So it's a fabulous animal to share the rivers with. There's plenty of monkeys. I love a howler monkey. Black and gold howler monkey is mostly restricted to that area there in the Pantanal, across in Bolivia a little bit. And they're along the rivers that you see. And the number one thing that the Pantanal is probably known for is as a great place to see and photograph jaguar. So as any swamp will say, even the celery fields, water levels go up and down. And when the water level's low, it can sometimes be a particularly good time for photography and close encounters with birds and wildlife. And so we send, 4 or 5 scheduled trips and probably 5 or 6 private trips every year into the Pantanal for birds and wildlife. And this is one of the photos from my last visit. And I just thought this gal was so moody, and she just sort of slunk up to the creek side next to us and just sat there staring at us like this for minutes. And it was one of my favorite jaguar encounters. My other one was when I had stopped off for a pit stop on the side of the river, and I turned around, there's a jaguar behind me. That's a different story for a different day. But yeah, so hyacinth macaw, fantastic bird. This is a headshot from one of the lodges that we stay at, where yeah, they'll usually start the day out for you. You wake up hearing the macaws waking up and walk out, and this is what you see. So always a good way to start the day in the Pantanal of Brazil. Now, a little eye candy for everyone. This is a group of my favorite birds. So as Margaret mentioned, I've spent a lot of time in South America. I have around 3,000 species or so in South America. So a few birds in Venezuela, a few in Argentina here and there, but I had the great good fortune of spending a lot of time there. And undoubtedly, I think some of the most ornate and charismatic birds on the planet are the tanagers. And this is a Brazilian tanager, which we usually see in Sao Paulo on the way coming and going from certain parts of Brazil. It's an East Coast bird. And it's sort of similar to maybe our summer or our scarlet tanager. You can see the bill color is a little different, eye color is a little different, but it's got that red and black scheme like a scarlet tanager, which scarlet tanager is not actually a tanager. I think they've moved it from a finch and cardinalids, and they're all over the place with these. But tanagers has ended up as a catch-all for a group of medium to small birds that are typically pretty wildly colorful, like this flame-faced tanager. This was one of the first tanagers I saw when I went to Ecuador, when I moved to Ecuador many years ago. And so it's always had a soft spot with me, because I think flame-faced tanager, you look at the picture in the book and you read the name, it's like, oh my gosh, this has got to be like one of the coolest birds I'll ever see. And it delivers. Yeah, it totally delivers. And it's a perfectly named bird. Golden collared tanager from Peru, also right up there. And then these black-backed tanagers are kind of an amazing species as well. It's very range restricted in Brazil, but just another example of some really amazing colors that you can see in the tanager family. And I've chosen some that are all pretty close together. This was the species that I chose as my headline bird, because I've only actually gotten a few photos in Nat Geo, either on their website or magazine. I had a toucan barbet once upon a while, but that redneck tanager is a good bird. This isn't the photo. This is a different one. But I love this photo because you can see that it has, almost all the colors of the rainbow pretty much represented right there. And in certain places in Brazil, this just comes to the feeder right in front of you. You can practically feed them out of your hand. This is really close to maybe my favorite tanager. This is a paradise tanager. I spent about 8 months in the Amazon of Ecuador. And one of my most wanted birds when I went there that wasn't an ant bird was this. I wanted to see a paradise tanager. And I didn't know this, but going into it, but it's one of the more common upper Amazonian, lower Andean foothills species in big mixed flocks. So you get these flocks of birds in Central and South America where you can get just dozens and dozens of species all together. The biggest mixed flock I ever had was an understory group, a middle story group, and a canopy group. They all came through around this ant swarm and a monkey troop at the same time in the Amazon. And in about 40 minutes, I had 92 species. Wild. And so, but this bird here, the paradise tanager, got to be one of the world's best birds. It's right up there for me. Again, all the colors of the rainbow, and this one is like in brilliant neon. Some birds look like they're actually plugged in somehow, like they have to have a power source to push those colors the way they do. And this one was taken looking down at a canopy tower Again, this was in northern Brazil, outside of Manaus, and just love this species, the paradise tanager. But my number one favorite tanager isn't quite so bright, but for some reason I just think it's so classy. Just the way the colors and the patterns come together. And this is a brassy breasted tanager. Green's my favorite color. Blue's pretty close. This I think has some of the best tones of both. And so yeah, I love tanagers. I think they're amongst the world's best birds for sure. So now we'll go back to the old world here, and very different size than a tanager. The bird you're looking at here is called a monal. There are a few different species. This is the Himalayan monal. And I chose this as one of the world's best birds. I think there's some obvious attributes when you look at photos. It's a wow bird. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, it's big, it's bigger than a chicken, and it's just shockingly bright for a bird of that size. You think, how in the world has this survived evolution? And then you're reminded kind of that Wallace might have had something on Darwin, in the sense of, a lot of the evolution, especially where birds and certain groups of animals are concerned, isn't necessarily for the survival of the individual, but that individual's ability to pass on its genes to offspring. And so you get some pretty flashy birds like this, but Himalayan monals right up there. One of the other reasons that I chose it is because it is the national bird of one of my favorite countries, and it is Bhutan. And so Bhutan is this tiny country that's nestled up next to Nepal, kind of in between India and China. And it's been this sort of bastion of the Buddhist religion. It does identify as a Buddhist theistic kingdom. And really it's one of the more fascinating places that I've been, because the tradition is very strong. And I feel that in anything from their mannerisms to their way of speaking and such, really does belie how important kind of a culture of respect and sharing and other things that have kind of pervaded into that. And that comes through in the experience when you're there. So while you're looking at these birds, you're going through countryside and you're seeing this. This is called the Boomtang Zong. These amazing palaces are called zongs. And we always visit a few, on all our trips. We feel it's important to understand some about the culture and the context of the great birds you're getting to see. And so this is one of the main zongs in Paro. The last trip I did there, I was lucky enough to arrive on a very auspicious day. It was a national festival. And so the zong was open, and I was able to go in, and there's a small, it's an 8-year-old young man on the left who is a monk, practicing monk there, learning at the zong. But yeah, so one of the reasons I love the Himalayan monal is because I think the colors that it has are reflected in how colorful a lot of the traditional dress and structures, and just kind of how vibrant the culture is in a way. I think that the monal kind of embodies that. And Bhutan agrees, so much so that it's a protected bird. And what they used to use its feathers for was they would take one of the wing feathers and they would create fletching for arrows, because Bhutan's national sport is archery. And so again, a very traditional sport. And the monal became protected because of that, among other things. But yeah, so I like to throw in a little bit of context for how important that part of the world is for me, but why this bird is special is because you get to see a lot of cool things when you go looking for cool birds like the Himalayan monal. And then this one's going to be a little closer to home. It'll still feel pretty far, but this is Alaska. And I'm not sure how many folks watching have been to the Pribilof Islands of Alaska, but this is the little hamlet of St. Paul. which is the biggest town there on the Pribilof Islands, which doesn't say a ton, but they do a little fish processing. They had a crab processing plant there too. Most of that has been moved to offshore units and stuff. I haven't been in a couple of years, but I had the good fortune of being offered a position to count cliff nesting seabirds and fur seals, which you'll see in the foreground here, for NOAA, and to also help the St. Paul, tourism operation there to show visiting birders around as well. And the area there, I was there for a summer, and it was pretty magical. Again, it's wild to be looking at a similar species that we saw. I don't know if you can remember all the way back to the American pipit photo, but in the American pipit photo, there are all these different kinds of wildflowers, and that was at 11,000 feet. You get a lot of the same wildflowers, not the same species, but same types, right at the sea level there because you're so far north. And the summer's just as vibrant. It's amazing. And so it gave me a real love for and appreciation for some of the more, extreme places in a sense, because up until this point, I went and did this in 2010. I had been in the tropics basically for the last 7.5 years or so in South America, and then the first gig I got when I moved back was this. And so I kind of went from one end to the other in terms of habitat, bird life. But I absolutely fell in love with horned puffin. And that was essentially the same pair that you saw in the photo from before. There's nothing wrong with puffins. I mean, I think everybody loves puffins. They're cute. They seem to have expression. I don't know, like the way the feathers go and the way they move their mouths, and they're just like little flying, those little Nerf footballs that you might have played with as a kid. They're just like little flying Nerf footballs, just adorable in every way. And so getting to spend a summer counting them, watching them go from pairing up in the ocean to coming and making nests and then having babies and carrying fish, having their beak laden with fish to feed their young was just such a treat. And so I think one of the world's best birds. You can argue for other species of puffins. Tufted and Atlantic are fine. But I think horned puffin is my favorite. And I had to throw in a tufted puffin, of course, because they were nesting side by side. And again, it was a real treat to just see those two together. And this is a ruddy turnstone that just came off a nest in the saxifrage fields, these wildflower fields in the Pribilofs. And then I really did develop a love and a more heightened awareness for botany when I was there. And so there's not a ton of diversity, so you can really kind of dive in. And so I really felt myself get very excited about a lot of the wildflowers and other things that were part of my day-to-day time there. And then, yeah, this is just a little bit of more of a close-up of St. Paul. We've got a few more fur seals hauled out in this photo. The orca that were lurking offshore are not in the photo, but that was also a very interesting part of the summer. Amazing experiences. Also, that summer, I saw 48 species of shorebird. And if you go through the whole world's list of shorebirds, you realize that that's pretty much all the ones in the Northern Hemisphere. So one of the fun thing about being there was all these rare birds, rare birds coming over from Siberia. So great knots, wood sandpipers, marsh sandpipers, all of these things that are counterparts to our birds, but in the old world would get blown over with storms coming off of Siberian Russian. So yeah, I had a lot of really cool, fun sightings there, things like jack snipe and I don't know, a bunch of stuff that was just great. And so that was a really special time for me, and that's why I think horned puffin is one of the world's best birds. And there's no presentation I could give after having spent so much time in Central and South America that could exclude hummingbirds. And I think, if you look back a little bit into, our geological history and learn a little bit about where dinosaurs went, what they turned into, and all of this, you get even more excited about these little tiny birds that seem to defy gravity and defy any notion of what colors should and can be. And so anything from, the structural uniqueness of how their feathers bright up to their completely unique locomotion, I think hummingbirds are just amongst the most spectacular. Plus, they love to do goofy poses like this when you're sitting in the theater and you're watching them. So I'll sit and watch and wait where their favorite perches are, and then you can maybe catch them in the act looking at you like this. Or you just wait and see, pick out a flower, say, this looks like a good flower. Maybe I want to get a cool shot here. And then you can actually have something like this white-whiskered hermit come into the flower you're hoping it would come to. And the names are amazing. The last bird was a white-whiskered hermit. This is Gould's jewel front. And so I think the names are almost as spectacular as the birds. So Gould is an etymological reference we don't need to get into, but yeah, you can see the little dazzle just above the bill there that he gets his name for. And this is a marvelous spatule tail. Pardon the ISO, but yeah, this is a spectacular bird. If you look at the bottom of the photo there, you'll see these two weird discs that are at the end of these long thin wires, which are actually above its true tail coming out of the lower back. They're these modified feathers for display flight. It does, where it just goes back and forth like this in front of a female and whips those spatules around. So the name Marvelous Spatule Tail. Crazy. Green-crowned wood nymph. Another great name. Chestnut-breasted coronet, because it goes kind of sounds like a red-breasted nuthatch when it gets upset. And tourmaline sun angel. Again, my dad's a geologist, so whenever I hear like some sort of a gemstone reference in a bird name, I get a little excited. So I like tourmaline sun angel. But then, the locomotion. One of the, things I like to try and capture with hummingbird photography is the movement. Because again, like, the colors are unique, but I think the most unique thing about them is the way they get around. Fiery-throated hummingbird from Costa Rica. And then this one's pretty hard to beat. I had to throw in violet-tailed sylph. It's one of those birds that from the front or the back, you're kind of just like really, your eyes are seared and you're just like, wow, that is just pretty much out of this world. So yeah, violet-tailed sylph is up there. Had to give a little feather detail. And maybe my favorite hummingbird is this one. It doesn't have all the colors, but it has a truly unique adaptation. It feeds mostly off of Datura floripundia family plants, and that's what it kind of adapted to feed off of in the very high Andes, kind of just below tree line in elfin and upper temperate forests of the mountains of Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. And it developed this insanely long bill because the flowers of floripundia and datura are typically some 4 or 5 inches deep. And so while the bird's body itself is only a few inches, its bill makes it one of the largest hummingbirds. Basically, if you went from tail tip to bill tip, it would be number one. This is called the sword-billed hummingbird. And it's definitely one of the best birds in the world. And I'll finish with a little bit of trivia, and then we'll take some questions. But if you look at its feet in this photo, there's something very unique about the sword-billed hummingbird that I'll leave you with. You notice those really long, luscious toenails that it has? Now, most birds may or may not have those for whatever purpose, but I'm curious how many of you can guess, and maybe you can leave it in the chat. I'll leave this with you. I'll give you an answer in a second. What do you think it uses those toenails for? It also has a double jointed knee as well. And the answer, or a big hint, is what do birds outside of feeding and sleeping spend the most time doing that this bird would have a very hard time doing given its bill? Okay, so I'll leave you with that. And we'll see if we can get some answers in the chat, and then we can jump to a yeah. Somebody got it. Somebody got it. So Cindy Eckerts, everyone said preening. That is exactly correct. And so the sword-billed hummingbird is the only bird that exclusively uses its feet for preening and has these really long, nice curved toenails to do that. It has the double joints in their legs, limbs, so they can get all around. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and these are just some of the world's best birds. There's lots and for many reasons, but I hope you enjoyed. This is a little bit of a journey through part of my past as well, and my motivations for loving birds and wanting to share more about them all the time.
Fabulous. This is really fascinating.
So Margie, you need to turn your video back on because I turned it off.
I can't do it.
Oh,
You
I'll
need to
I'll let me figure it out. Sorry.
you need to let me in.
Okay, let me find panelists.
The host
Okay,
is
there you go. You should have a prompt.
Cool.
that. Yay. I don't see me, but I'm here.
You are here. All right, we
Yes,
see
this
you.
is fascinating.
Did anyone have any questions? If you do, put them in the Q&A if you want to ask anything.
Just
Yeah,
fascinating.
happy to
People
answer.
are, yeah, they're in the chat saying a lot.
You know, it's really easy to understand why you'd have so many bird species and why this would be your life calling.
Well, it is. Yeah, I mean, the more I travel and the more I see, the more I realize that there is to see, I guess. It's kind of never ending. And I did go through and I updated my FIGO tier list. There's another like listing thing that you can do that does everything. It's got mammals and fish, all this stuff. And I found out that I'm like in the top 20 or 30 something for mammals too, which I didn't have any clue of because I just gone all these places to see these birds, but I kept bumping into all these cool mammals. And it's like, you really realize that that's just getting out there is good enough. I mean, it's just great.
Well,
So
one of
yeah,
the
so
things I
sorry,
love
I'm
about
seeing
your
a lot of
presentation
questions
is all
coming
your
through.
side adventures.
What's
You
that?
got all your side adventures. You're like, oh, I'm into botany now because we got all these cool flowers. That's the best.
Botany.
That's awesome.
Well, I think I think my wife might be questioning the amount of field guides that are occupying our bookshelf. So I think it's a great thing that digital memory is nigh endless now because otherwise we might have a problem. But yeah. But yeah, sorry, I see some questions coming through.
Yeah.
I'm
We
just
had one in
Yeah.
the chat that was asking, how did the hummingbird
Feed its young.
feed its young? Yeah, sorry.
That's a very good answer and question, and the answer is hovering mostly.
Oh,
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so they pretty much have to kind of hover and sit back. And another, way that they do it too is sometimes, most hummingbird nests, all hummingbird nests are a cup of sorts, and it's always lined with something or another. But sword-bill hummingbirds' nests can also be a little bit more concave, just a little bit deeper. But yeah, usually they can't reach in to feed their young under normal methods, so they have to either sit back and kind of put it in, or they have to hover over until their young are big enough to get their heads up and out. So
Just amazing.
yeah.
So somebody, Carl Bostic asks, do you do penguin tours from SRQ?
Penguin tours from SRQ. I mean, we run a lot of tours to Antarctica. You can see penguins. You can actually see penguins in Cape Town, South Africa as well. I mean, if your goal is just to see penguins, but you want to go on a safari, then you can see African penguins right in Cape Town at a couple different places. But yeah, the subantarctic island tour is spectacular. You see several different kinds of penguins. But of course, I mean, the number one penguin experience on the planet, bar none, is going to the Salisbury Plain on South Georgia Island on an Antarctic trip. And so some people go to the Antarctic Peninsula and they might see a few penguins and it's very exciting. But the complete, no trip to Antarctica would be the same without visiting the Falklands and especially South Georgia. There are about 300,000 king penguins nesting at this one plain. It's called the Salisbury Plain in South Georgia. And walking amongst them, I mean, they have these little like paths, and you have minders that sort of, they're really keeping the penguins off of you more than you off of the penguins. But you're going through this breeding colony of just, yeah, 300,000. It's hard to fathom. The sound, smell, the colors, everything going on there. I mean, you can spend a whole day there. Unfortunately, usually you get one or two island landings to do that because of weather and time. You got to move on. But yeah, all of our Antarctic trips spend time at South Georgia, the Falklands, and you'll get all the penguins down there. But again, yeah, if you're feeling a little more intrepid, the southern waters are pretty big on the sub-Antarctic island cruises. So hopefully you got your sea legs. Otherwise, you'll get them before it's over. But you can get out to this island called Macquarie Island, which has some of the the rarest penguins in the world, but also has the highest density. So it's this one island that's essentially covered in penguins, foot to foot, all breeding season long. So yeah, there are some spectacular places that we do run tours to see penguins for sure.
That's great. Somebody wants to know, was this something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know that I know I wanted to do it until I sort of, was in college on my way to med school, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Because I just didn't want to really be inside anymore. And I knew I didn't love really anything more than I loved this. And so I just did this instead. Yeah.
So now that you're in Sarasota, do you work for a rock jumper when you're not on your tours?
I do. Yeah, I've been in administration for a long time. So I'm also one of the product designers. So basically when Rock Jumper hired me, they were only doing a few tours in the Western Hemisphere. It's a company based in South Africa. So they all started off as like safari guide bird lovers that wanted to make a birding company. And now it's the largest birding company in the world with the most offerings and the most tours in a given year. And my job was to develop everything in this hemisphere. And so now we're up to running around 150 or so tours, maybe 135 or so tours annually in the Western Hemisphere. And so it went from 7, I think, when I started. So I worked on building it out. And then part of my job was to also go around and visit Asia and Africa and some of these other countries that we were already well versed in, but just to have like a little, maybe a different eye for it, or get some other ideas and do some research. And so I've actually been able to help expand our offerings in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea and other places like that. So which I've also been fortunate to do a little research and spend some time in over the years.
Amazing. I think I picked the wrong career. This is, I can't believe your career. I hope you write a book about all your experiences.
Yeah, it's been very cool. It's been very cool. I did see one of the questions popped up was about Uganda. I saw that really
Yes.
briefly. Here, 1,000+ species. So as I just mentioned, Rock Jumper is primarily an African company. And so there are a few of us from North America or elsewhere around the world that work for them, mostly as guides. I'm the token in administration that's not a South African. So yeah, Uganda, all of the African guides say the same thing pretty much. If you could only bird in one country in Africa, just one, what would it be? They all say Uganda. So I think South Africa is probably a very close number 2. But I think Uganda and South Africa are probably the 2 birdiest countries in all of Africa. And of course, Uganda's got cool stuff like shoebill and all that as well. And they have a great safari experience also. But for first time safari goers, I usually say, look, if you want to do like the best of birds and safari, if you haven't had African experience, South Africa is probably, the best place to start. Just because, if you plop in Uganda see 600 birds in a week and a half, your mind might melt. So it's good to kind of start with a little bit of a warm up.
I'd be willing to try anyway.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. It's good to go for it.
Or they can
So,
see all those tours at rockjumperbirding.com, right?
That's
yes.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, they can. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're leading a tour in our very own celery fields, right? This Sunday.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. No,
It's a
I'm so happy
class.
to help out. I'm just so happy to help out locally. I mean, it's great. And you guys' organization's amazing. And honestly, like the celery fields and the history of Sarasota Audubon is very impressive. And it's quite cool. I was on the board with Sacagawea Audubon in Montana, where I moved here from, and they became one of the few property owning Audubons in the American West, as well while I was there. So we worked on some mitigation and rehabilitation projects and acquiring some land to rehab some wetlands and stuff. And I feel like when I heard about what you guys are doing here, I was like, oh my God, this is this is right up my alley. I really like this. This is some good work you guys do. So I really appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate having you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
all that you've done for us. I really do appreciate it.
Yes,
Absolutely,
indeed.
my pleasure.
So we have one attendee with their hand up.
Mhm.
I'm going to allow. Okay, Susie, do you have a question you want to ask? No. Okay.
We'll just give her a high five. I always like the hand because it's like
All righty. So thank you so much. This is really, I just want to leave right now and go tour around the world.
well, it's an amazing time to be doing it. So
Oops.
yeah,
It is. So thank you so much. Just really fascinating, wonderful experience.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Oh, I got the wrong one.
So actually, we have one of our meet and greets is a guy who did fascinating penguins in the Falklands last year, and Sean Carey, and he's going to be doing a talk about the birds of Tanzania for our meet and greet on the 14th of January. So you all might want to attend that. And then we have a speaker 2 days before on Monday the 12th, and Joanna Wu. And the Galbatross project is, the gal means girl.
Yeah.
And they've realized, just as we write here, female birds are so important, and sometimes they can appear more drab, but if you don't, as birders and as people supporting birders and people learning, if you don't focus on the females of the species, you don't really know that much about the birds you're studying. So a number of, I think it's mostly women ornithologists have really been looking at how can they stress to birders and all kinds of people watching birds, hey, you need to know about the females of the species. Like if you look at the red-winged blackbird, the female looks completely different. It's really striped up, the kazoo, brown and beige and all kinds of stripes, and doesn't look at all like its male companion. So, but Joanna Wu is one of the leaders in this female birds and what we are learning by focusing on them. So
That's awesome.
we're very happy you're with us, and do keep coming to us. And Forrest will be here too, so I'm sure we'll get a lot more cool ideas from you, Forrest.
Well, one of the birds I didn't put up there, but was very close, was a red phalarope, just because I wanted to talk about how they're polyandrous and they nest as a community because of it, and that's all because of the ladies. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That's cool. That's cool.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you all next month, and be sure to check out the website for any info. And you can also find our back programs on YouTube, and you can find those connections on the website. So, all right. See you all
Thanks,
next time.
everyone.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thanks, Forrest.
Cheers. Bye, guys.